Hello BookTube, welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and this video is going to be the wrap-up of 1/3 of the Sunshine State Young Reader Award finalists for 3rd to 5th grade. I discovered that 5 of the books were rated a 3rd grade level, and 5 of them were a 4th grade level, and of course then the other 5 are written on a 5th grade level. So I decided to break them down that way, and I have finished reading all 5 of the books that are a 3rd grade level. Now this is the first one I read, so this is a 3.1, which means it would be appropriate for anyone 3rd grade and above, and possibly even for some 2nd graders who are accelerated readers. This is called White Fur Flying by Patricia MacLachlan. She is the author of Sarah Plain and Tall, which is a fabulous book. So I was looking forward to reading this, and I was not disappointed. This was really an excellent book. Now, it's very, I would say it is fairly predictable, but again, it's a 3rd grade book. So, you know, it's not written for an adult intellect. It's written for a child's intellect, but for what it is, it's really good. It is about a family that rescues Great Pyrenees dogs and help them find homes. They have one of their own, and they take in other dogs as needed. And so when the story starts out, they have one extra dog that is pending adoption. A couple moves in next door who has a young child that they are fostering. It's their nephew, I believe. And so they don't have any children, don't really know how to deal with children. And the little boy is going through a lot of family issues, and so that's why he is not living with his parents at the moment. And he has also stopped speaking. So you can imagine then, child moves in next door to a family with big white dogs. Perhaps the big white dogs are going to help him. You know, perhaps there'll be a connection, and perhaps maybe he will be able to come out of his shell and be able to work through whatever is troubling him. So, like I said, it's fairly predictable, but it's beautifully told. It's a really nice, heartwarming story, and it's very large font, double-spaced, so that it makes it a very good read, a very good chapter book for emerging readers. It's a very sweet book. Now, the interesting thing about the rest of these books, the Accelerated Reader website gives these books a 3.8 or a 3.9 reading level. It's very interesting, though, because every one of these other 4 books are written about middle schoolers, or in the case of 3 Times Lucky, takes place in the summer between the main characters' 5th and 6th grade. So I don't know what all is taken into consideration when they are deciding what grade level to list a book. But I suppose it has more to do with the difficulty of words and the length of the book. But of course, it would need to be a theme that would be enjoyable for that age group. So while I would assume that kids would enjoy reading about kids who are older than them, I just wanted you to know that even though these are 3rd grade books, they're not about 3rd graders. They are about middle schoolers. I would consider these really middle grade books, but that would be appropriate reads for older elementary school. All right, so 8 Keys is by Suzanne LaFleur. I really did enjoy this book, but it was very slow starting. It took about almost 60 pages before anything really happened in relation to the 8 keys. There was one little tiny mention of the first key kind of early in the story, but most of the first 60 pages are really about the main character starting middle school and being bullied and just going through all the angst that is involved in middle school, and also dealing with just everything going on in her life at the time. So once we get all the backstory out of the way, then we can really learn about the 8 keys and what they unlock. That part is really interesting. So if you can have the patience to get through the backstory, then I do recommend this book. I thought the whole 8 keys premise is very interesting, and I don't want to say a lot about what the 8 keys are for, because I think that's part of the excitement of the book, is learning what those are. Athlete versus Mathlete is by W.C. Mack. This was a fun book. It's about two fraternal twins who are very opposite of each other. They are both boys. One is a basketball player and a very strong athlete, and the other is a very strong academic student. He is in a group called Masters of the Mind, and they are getting ready for a competition, but the new basketball coach sees him and sees how tall he is and insists that he come for basketball tryouts. Well, he's never played basketball. He's very uncoordinated, kind of clumsy, and even his brother is like, well, why does he want you to come? You don't play basketball. He's like, I know. So nobody expects him to make the team. And so they help him out a little bit, and he ends up making the team. And his brother, who has been playing all along, then is really jealous because this is, this has really upset his whole world. And it's just a really fun story about sibling rivalry and about family relationships and different interests. I think the neat thing about this book is that there's enough sports and basketball references to interest especially boys who would really rather play sports than read. So whether you're more interested in sports or more interested in academics, you could still relate to someone in this book. And I think it's a very entertaining story. I think it's also good for parents to read. Parents who have children who are on opposite ends of the spectrum. I think there's kind of a lesson here. It's interesting to see how the parents treat each child according to their interests. And so it's an interesting book, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun read. It's a very quick read, too. Now, I've already talked about Freaky Fast Frankie Joe by Lutricia Clifton. It's about a boy who has just had to move into a blended family situation because his mother's incarcerated. He's never really lived with his father, did not know his half-brothers at all before he moved in, and so it's a whole new family dynamic, and he's just learning to fit in. Doesn't really want to fit in, but he's hoping to just run away. And it's a good story because I think a lot of kids will relate to what he's having to go through in this book. And just this morning I finished 3 Times Lucky. This is my daughter's book. She bought it a couple of years ago. It was the featured book for the Scholastic monthly book order through her teacher, and she ordered it because I think it was only $1. And so she started reading it, couldn't really get into it. It's just kind of sat on the shelf. So when it was picked to be one of this year's Sunshine State books, I thought, oh, well, we already have that. So, well, that's convenient, so I will read it. And it's by Sheila Turnage, called 3 Times Lucky. It's the first in a series. Right now there are 3 books in the series. I don't know if there's only going to be 3 or if there's going to be others, but I am looking forward to reading the next one. This book contains some mysterious elements, but there's also an underlying mystery that's not resolved in this book that I feel is going to carry through the entire series. So I'm definitely wanting to follow up with the second book and see how that goes. But this is about Moses LeBeau. She is a very strong, spunky girl. This book takes place in the summer between her 5th grade and 6th grade school year. And she goes by the name of Mo, and she tells people not to make fun of her name because the last person that made fun of someone named Moses got covered up by the Red Sea. And so she really tells it like it is. She's just got all the truth, and she just is she's one of my favorite book characters that I have read this year. She's just really awesome. The premise is that she does not know who her biological parents are. She is looking for her mother because she was found at... Oh, and by the way, in the overview video that I did for these books, I thought this book took place in Louisiana. Don't know why I was thinking that. Maybe because it looks kind of like a bayou here, but actually this is a river. The setting for this book is Tupelo Landing, North Carolina. And when Mo was a baby, she was found by the colonel who has become her guardian. She was found after a hurricane, floating down the river. She had been attached or tied to something floatable, like some sort of a raft, and so the colonel found her, and him and his wife Lana decided to raise her. And throughout her whole life, she's 11 years old, she has been trying to find her upstream mother, as she calls her, and she will put notes in bottles, and anytime someone is traveling upstream, she will send them a bottle to drop somewhere along the way. And she keeps hoping that somehow, somewhere, her upstream mother will, or her biological mother, will find one of these bottles and will find her. And even though she's very happy with the guardians that she has, she still would like to know who her mother is and thank her for doing what it took to save her in the hurricane. So that's the basic premise, but a lot of other fun and adventurous things happen in this book. And there's mystery, there's murder, there's bank robbery, unsolved crimes. Her and her friend Dale decide to become detectives because there has been a murder in their little town, and so they decide to try to help the real detectives figure out what happened. And it's kind of over the top, but it's really a lot of fun. And I think that of all 5 of the books that I have just read, this is probably my favorite. But I would recommend any and all of them. I thought they were all excellent books. I can totally understand why they made the Florida Sunshine State Young Reader Award finalist lists. And if you see one that you think you would like, I hope you will grab yourself a copy and read it, because they are all excellent books. So that's all I have for this video. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.